I'm here with Richard McCombe from Graphic Warehouse. Really excited to have a chat with you about your business, your recent developments that you've had, and your investment in Liyu.
Graphic Warehouse is actually a trading name of our legal entity, which is Matic Media Services Limited, and we've been trading for nearly 20 years up in Scotland. It's a family-run business between myself and the two brothers, Adrian and Robert. Adrian is sales director and Robert's operations, but he's also a techie, so he does software development. And originally, Matic Media was a traditional signage and display graphics manager. I think we had 22 local authorities buying from us and some blue chips like Sky and GSK. But we were heavily dependent on the public sector. As contracts were maturing, in Scotland, they weren't being renewed. And they were getting migrated over onto a government contract that already existed. And that was really frustrating because we could see that what was going to happen in the following years, and we were going to take a serious nosedive. So we were having to rethink how we almost recreated our business because other areas of house building were already oversaturated with suppliers, and we were kind of too late to get in. So, we've been playing around with what we call web to press technology, but everybody else in the world calls it web to print. And the reason ours was web to press is because we literally could take the artwork, take it all through the workflow, spark up a printer and start printing out automatically with no human interaction. And we've been playing with it around with that for a long time. At one point we were on loads of daily deal sites selling canvases. So we'd built up this experience of working with consumers rather than B2B, where we could take the artwork, work it through the workflow, don't speak to the customer unless absolutely necessary. And we were manufacturing 2 or 3 pallets a day of photo canvases going out across the UK. But we realized we had that technology, and we knew that we had to look at other ways of diversifying it in our marketplace. And we had all these skills and knowledge, understanding about large format print and signage. And we decided that we wanted to move to this model that was print, pack, and dispatch, have many customers, many transactions with a lower average transaction value. And the value in that for us was that when we had Glasgow City Council as a contract, annually it was worth broaching on to about $500,000 a year. And when that contract came to an end, that was a lot of money to find. Mm-hmm. And we're not a big business, so it was pretty scary at the time trying to go, how are we going to reinvent ourselves? So we developed this brand called Graphic Warehouse. We'd already owned a domain name for years, and went out, put some pilots on, demonstrated how the software worked, and quickly learned that how we thought people wanted to work wasn't really how everybody else in the world wanted to work, despite all this amazing technology we developed. So I think in sort of 2019, we'd started that brand, and it started to grow, but we were still heavily dependent on the existing Matic Media customers who were wanting us to go out, site survey, do graphic design, change it multiple times, or send their artwork in, it was wrong. There was all these things that everybody else in our industry knows and understands, and is extremely frustrating. And then you get out and you've got to install it, and you've got 20 visits to Screwfix. You've got installers that don't want to work overtime unless it suits them. And so we were looking for ways of sort of changing our whole model. Graphic Warehouse was firmly established during COVID, and because we couldn't do any installs. So, and our customer base, we'd grown because we were offering this semi-online service, almost exploded during COVID. And from a business perspective, it was great for us. We were sitting on cash that we could use for future growth and investment. And that was, so we were offering through the Graphic Warehouse everything we were kind of offering without the installation and design side. So it was printed rigid board, banners, flags, fabric, EFS systems, posters. But I suppose the difference between us and some of our competitors is that we are actually from a signage background. So when our customers call into us, and our customers are marketing agencies, design agencies, commercial printers, copy shops, other sign manufacturers who don't have the technology we have, and we become their overflow. We're able to speak the language. We're able to say to somebody, no, so for example, right in front of me, I'm looking at window frosting and it's air release window frosting that we sell to our customers because it makes it easy for them to apply. And, we're sort of de-risking the product for them, but we can take them through that process, which I think some of the bigger guys than us who are maybe commercial printers with bolt-on of large format are not able to offer that technical expertise that my team can.
So it's interesting talking about the changes that the business has gone through. Can you tell me a little bit more about them and what it's meant to you as a company?
Yeah, so we realized that we were reaching capacity and we were renting premises from local authority. So there was little we could do more with those premises. In Scotland, we probably have more large format print and finishing equipment than others, just because we had different, we had dye sublimation as well as roll-to-roll, Colorado and things like that. We were having to run shifts to try and get the capacity through our machines. That was causing challenges. Running night shift when you're running bespoke jobs doesn't really work. You need to all be able to see and communicate on a almost hour by hour basis. So we knew we were reaching capacity. We knew we had to increase that. Shift patterns weren't really working. They were becoming quite stressful. And we didn't have the space for the new equipment that we'd identified that we wanted to bring in. So we knew we wanted 3.2. We knew we wanted hybrid. But the building across the road from us came up for sale. And if anyone's ever gone through the process of buying the first building, I'm more than happy to share my experience with them. It is really challenging. So I think we're now about, our project to move in here is 1.1 something million. And yeah, we bought the building. It needed extensive refurbishment. Timescales were challenging despite the fact that we were only across the road. But, we moved over and we moved all the plant and equipment, and by God, you forget what it's like moving one piece of machinery in. But when you've got to decommission every single piece of machinery, including wall saws and sewing machines, and some of them are dead easy to move, and some of them are just mind-blowingly complicated. I remember we decommissioned our Zund, and I had no idea that it was taken down to almost every single component. It was one of the most stressful and exhausting days we had. We brought in engineers, but we were kind of laboring to them because we were doing the actual moving of the equipment with forklifts and stuff. So yeah, it's not something I want to do again in the future, but the new premises has allowed us to invest in the new printer, which we're going to talk about. It's improved our workflow. It is so much better. I was out there. I've been doing some internal projects because I'm doing the refurb of some of the parts of the building, and I was just watching people working the other day, and I was like, I've never seen this. I've never seen like a pallet of Corex get printed and then taken across to the Zund and cut down and then put into boxes and then go out to dispatch. It happened, but you didn't see it all happening in one location. It's quite impressive.
Okay, so is your previous building more sort of different
compartmentalized,
zones, as it were?
Yeah. We grew organically, so you had a room for this and a room for that, and then then after COVID, we changed the front office into a laminating room and moved the staff upstairs, which wasn't great for them. They didn't have natural light and windows and things like that. So, a big improvement for them is the morale of having a much nicer working environment. You look at our windows, it's all trees. It's much better.
I guess also from your point of view, from a sort of overseeing point of view, you can see where jobs are and where they are in the workflow, so to make sure you're sort of on track with things, I guess.
Well, you're being very flattering. I don't know one job that goes through this building.
Well, somebody is.
Our operations team. Yeah, operations team. They say it's so much better. Even the staff were telling me the other day, we had a meeting on Friday, and I was just asking, look, is there anything like really glaring that you want me to focus on from an improvement perspective? And they were saying it is so much better that, you're looking through your ticket list and you're saying, right, I'm laminating that next, and you go, I can't see it obviously where it's supposed to be, but you can just go, Gary, where's that job that you just printed? And he goes, oh, here, it's here. And it's really good. It's nice to hear that feedback because it's been hard work.
No, I bet. Okay, so you talked about the need to move to a larger printer, 3.2, and I guess that's driven the need for a bigger operational space, which you've kind of done and gone through that pain. What was the decision-making process, and how did you end up choosing the Platinum?
Okay, so we already could print at 3.2 roll to roll and on flatbed. So we had a number of printers with Colorado, Mimaki 3.2, some other Mimakis for die sublimation, and we had in Arizona. Those were our main printers, other sort of bits of kit as well. The Arizona is a great machine. We've had more than one. Yeah, we've had two, and we liked them because we could get the quality we wanted out of them. And as we were growing, we then sort of moved up to the next one. We had a double bed that you could ping pong on, so you could print an 8x4 here and an 8x4 there, or you could flip around, you could do a 10x5. And we liked the fact that the gantry moved and the quality was always really good. And that was very important for us offering a trade surface because historically I didn't really like the idea of hybrids with moving belts because I was always concerned that, if the belt didn't quite move right, then the registration would not be very good. Obviously with feathering and things, a lot of those issues have just disappeared, and the technology is just better in hybrids. So Arizona was great, but it just wasn't fast enough anymore. We're having to run almost 3 shifts, which carried on from COVID because we put everybody into bubbles and we just kept those people in those bubbles. So this night shift was maybe only 2 people, and sort of man down alarms and all these kind of things that we had to think about from a health and safety perspective. Their job was to get the print done. But of course now we don't really have that issue because we still have the equipment we had before. We've decommissioned and we sold the Arizona, and it was a good machine. There was nothing wrong with it, and I hope that person got a bargain because it served us well. And genuinely and honestly, I thought that would make a great machine for somebody else. It was just too slow for us. So we were growing out of the setup time that it took on in Arizona. So we needed something that we could just load a sheet into and it came out the other side. And we were even thinking about how, we could sort of look at automation and robotics in the future. So we wanted something that would scale with us as well. So why did we go with Liyu and Platinum? We've known Eddie from Liyu for many years. He's quite a character, but he's helped us out on many occasions. Yeah, so we've worked with Eddie for many years, and I think what really, for us, the Platinum Q3 was a market disruptor. We'd looked at other machines on the marketplace. I'm not going to name them, but we'd heard of some stories about the way that you had to be trained. You had to go over to Europe for a week's training, and then it was very much sort of, you were kind of left to be independent or very much dependent on the engineers. So we'd seen the Platinum Q3 at the showroom, and Eddie and his team had shown us around this, and they're very welcoming when you go there. There's no kind of airs and graces. I quite like that. I'm not one of these people that wants to turn up to an airport and be picked up by a chauffeur with my name on the front. It just happened in the past. So I remember on that occasion I asked if I could sit in the front because I felt like an idiot sitting in the back of a limousine. What we like about these machines is the simplicity. So I remember asking Eddie, because Eddie was reselling used Arizonas, and that's how we got to know him. And then he would offer the maintenance or engineering that would go with it, and he would supply us with the ink. So we knew him, and we knew the Liyu company well. What I asked him was, initially, why did you get into Arizona? He says, because it was so simple. So I didn't tell him, and I remember asking him, you're doing this little interview about these new machines, and you're saying, what about this, what about that? And he says, well, the Platinum Q3 is so simple. That was like, right, okay. So we're quite technical. So we like to sort of get in and around machines and have a look and see how the belts are running, what motors are in them, and obviously print heads and things like that. And we're going, right, now this looks like this really big, impressive box. But, the more we were kind of looking into it, we're going, you know what? This would suit us down to the ground, because if Eddie wants something simple, he's not going to want the complexities and difficulties in his life, and nor do we. So the other aspect of the Platinum Q3 is it offers scalability. So it comes with configurations in the print heads, and lots of machines do this, but all the technology is already built into the print heads, so all you're paying for in the future is the print heads. So you're not actually paying for all the boards and all the other gubbins that goes with it. And we thought that was impressive as well. So simplicity and scalability.
So when you say simplicity, Is that referring to simplicity of sort of maintenance, of if you need to repairs, changing things out? I assume the build is of a high quality, but it's simple to use. Is that kind of what you mean by that?
When we're looking at simplicity, it's not just the machine, it's the backup from the engineers. What we don't want is, we don't want an engineer travelling to Scotland to diagnose a machine to then have to go away and come back 3 days later with the parts. So we want somebody who's going to be able to talk us through the diagnosis process on how to fix something if something isn't quite right, so that then that engineer can come in and offer us that support. And we haven't had that with Liyu. So one of the best examples I can give Liyu of working with Liyu is when I was working on our Colorado, printing some window blinds to my daughter's bedroom. I caught a piece of masking tape and knocked out every single head in the print carriage. And it was going to be about 36 grand's worth of damage on a Sunday evening. What was really helpful was WhatsApping Liyu, getting a video call, resetting all the print heads, making sure it was all operational, and then all they had to do was a calibration in the morning. That's the kind of service you're not going to get from many other companies. And I think that's admirable working with them, to get that kind of level of support and talk you through that process. So a lot of things can be fixed by a competent person on these machines that we bring in. I'm not going to say we're going to go tinkering, but I think Eddie has plans for using VR to be able to talk you through process on diagnosing issues on machines that will allow you to get your machine up and running much, much more quickly. So during the move, we remembered the complexity of moving machines. There are so many machines, I've already discussed that. Even things like wall saws were really challenging. So we had to decommission all these machines and reinstall them. But the day the Platinum Q3 arrived in this lorry, it was literally forklift off, set at the front of the building, wheeled into position, plugged in, leveled off within a couple of hours. Training was minimal for us because we were already experienced, and it was up and running literally within a couple of hours. And they've not had to come and do anything else to level that machine. It just worked from the moment they leveled it. I was really, really surprised and impressed.
That's the critical thing for you, isn't it? These machines need to be operating in order for the business to be running. So the quicker you can get things up and running, the better. I'm curious to explore how, I mean, I know it's not been that long since you've moved, but you must have plans as well for the printer. How is it sort of improving your business, improving your applications and capabilities that you're able to deliver?
Well, it's all down to growth, really. We were finding it was quite difficult to take on extra capacity. We couldn't take on these jobs where somebody would come in and say, look, I need 500 10x5 Corex boards printed in the next 5 days and delivered to blah, 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 wherever it might be, because we're already full. So we didn't have that extra capacity to say, well, we can throw that in. But no, now I can see that, we're still busy. It's a different kind of busy. It's productive busy, not chaos busy, which sometimes it felt like. Well, I think, we are the proverbial swan. I think a lot of people on the outside maybe think, but there's a lot of different transactions happening going through the building. So, the machine is giving us better workflow because it's so much faster. Then we have better communication with a better working environment, and we have increased our capacity, which allows us to be faster than ever before. And we're realizing that price is not the most important thing. Speed is almost more important than price on many occasions. I don't understand why this industry is so driven by lastminute.com. Everything seems to be, I need it tomorrow. And it causes challenges for the end user, person in the middle who's selling it, and then for the manufacturer, because I've seen this analogy before. You can get it cheap, you can get it fast, you can get it with quality, but choose two, because you can't get all three.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're trying to find that balance all the time.
Okay. I mean, I think you've mentioned speed. Speed is important, but I guess reliability has to be alongside that, because if it's not working, it's no speed at all. How does that work with your Liyu?
So yeah, I mean the machine joined our print family, and the installation was very quick. It was seamless, and I think they did training is very easy, because if you're used to using roll to roll and you're used to using hybrid, you really just kind of learning some of the operational features, but the technical interface on the machine is probably the steepest learning curve. But most of us know what we're doing. My guys were trained really quickly because they already had the intuitive uh, usability of these machines, because this is simple. I think even on some of the demos we've done, we've asked clients to come in and say, look, push that board in there, press that button, there, your print's coming out. I'm not saying it's as easy as that, but that's a big factor. I'm pretty certain we've only had to phone down to Liyu a couple of times. I don't think we've had anybody out to do a repair. We had a courtesy call about a week later because they were visiting somewhere else, and they just popped in to see how we were getting on. No, touch wood, it's been operational for a couple of months now, and it's doing what it says in the tin. All the feedback I'm getting is really positive.
Yeah, good. What are your plans for the future, and how is this going to sort of help you with your growth and development as a company?
So, like I said, our aspiration is for growth. I think our turnover is made up about 5% of legacy Matic Media customers. We don't really do any installations anymore. We're entirely focused on graphic warehouse. Hence the reason the whole building has been branded as Graphic Warehouse. We're just about to really sort of press releases to say that we're changing our name. We don't want people thinking that Matic Media has gone bust. It hasn't. It's still the same legal entity. It's just that the Graphic Warehouse brand is so much stronger and offers so much more scalability. That's the brand we want to focus on. We don't want to be doing the creative. There are other people that are better than that. We don't want to be digging holes and traipsing through mud and putting up signs. We want to focus on the bit that we're really good at, and it's a knowledge, skill, and understanding of large format print to make signs, banners, posters, flags, tablecloths, aerospace panels, TFS systems. That's our niche. We're really good at it, and that's what we want to focus on.